Good morning. Happy Monday. It is time for just a word from the Word. Our passage this morning comes from the book of First Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 13, and I'm reading from the King James, and here is what it says. For by one Spirit are we all baptized into one body, whether we be Jews or Gentiles, whether we be bond or free, and have been all made to drink into one Spirit. I want to talk this morning for just a few moments about being one body. I get tickled when I read 1 Corinthians 12 because Paul, he's being a little sarcastic. You can kind of hear it in his tone. Don't read it out. I mean, don't just silently read it out loud. Or turn on your phone or whatever and let it read this chapter to you. And you can almost hear a little bit of the sarcasm in Paul's voice because he's like, look, if the whole body were an eye, you couldn't hear. Duh. If the whole body were an ear, you couldn't smell. Duh. You can kind of hear that in his tone. He's trying to make a point. What's the point that he's trying to make in 1 Corinthians 12? Well, it's an understandable point, but not always easy to incorporate. His point is that even though we have different callings, even though we have different ways that God has anointed us, and as I was telling the saints yesterday, and appointed us and activated us, even though those are different, that doesn't make them wrong. My calling is going to be different than your calling. Your calling is going to be different than my calling. How God chooses to use you is going to be different than how he chooses to use your spouse or your children or your best friend. It's different. That doesn't make it wrong. We're a part of the body, and the body has different members in it. It has different ways of functioning. Your eyes don't function the same way as your ears, and your ears don't function the same way as your tongue, and your tongue doesn't function the same way as your hands, and your hands don't function the same way as your feet, but they all work together. Even though their functions are different, they work together for the kingdom. What unites the body is not that every function is the same, but that we are all made to, as Paul said, drink into one Spirit. It is the Spirit of God that brings us together, that makes us one body. I have seen people confuse unity for uniformity. In other words, if everybody does everything the exact same way and everybody is on the exact same wavelength and wants the exact same thing and wants it to be done in the exact same way, that's unity. That's not unity, it's uniformity. That's not what we're called to. We're called to unity. So we're going to have differences in opinions. But unity says we have one goal. And that goal for the church is the kingdom of God. That's the goal. And if we as a body can come together with our different ideas, and it's not even just about ideas, but different abilities, we can bring those abilities together. And the Lord will show us how all that can function together. If we can do that, then we've reached biblical unity. And so this morning's just a word from the Word Stop seeking uniformity. Seek unity. It should never be one way and only one way. It is only God's way, and his ways are diverse. And there ought to be room in the body for the diversity of the different gifts, because that's what 1 Corinthians 12 is all about. There's a diversity of gifts. There are different ways that God moves on different people. But there's room in the body for all of those differences. When we can embrace that, then we've got unity. Seek unity, not uniformity. This has been just a word from the Word. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow morning. A little earlier than normal. I've got some things to take care of first thing tomorrow morning, but still, we'll see you tomorrow morning. God bless you.